Hey everybody, today we are talking about Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan. So, as many of you may know, Kevin Kwan is the author to the Crazy Rich Asians series. He's also the author to Sex and Vanity, and Lies and Weddings has been out for a couple years, but I just finally got around to reading it now. And I knew I was going to love it because Crazy Rich Asians, that series, that's one of the first video reviews that I put on this channel actually, was about that series and how much I enjoyed reading it. And I'm like, reading this one made me just want to read Crazy Rich Asians again. That's kind of where my love for Asian literature kind of began. I'd read one or two other books before it that were by Asian authors, and I thought, you know, I like these books. And so then when I saw Crazy Rich Asians, I was like, I have to give this a try. And here we are now, reading so many books from different Asian authors that I've loved so many of them that I have read. The first 2 pages in this book starts out really intense and dramatic and crazy, like already. Like, I'm telling you, literally the first like 2 pages, maybe 3 pages. It's just like, okay, we're already all the way up here. The book just started. And then like the next chapter we read, and that chapter ends with another like, oh, we're up here like again. This book is centered around several different weddings, but the main focus is of the Gresham family. The Greshams have been around for generations. They're wealthy earls. The current earl is Francis, and his countess wife is Countess Arabella, and she's Chinese, and since he's British, their children are British Chinese. And yes, I say British first rather than Chinese British because the mother, Arabella, very much wanted her children to take after the British side more, and was hoping that they would look more British than Asian, because the way she grew up and the experiences that she had growing up really shaped her into wanting to become a woman who would not take any crap from anyone that judged her based on her being Chinese. And she wanted her children to be more successful, and she just thought that they would have that better if they were presenting more British. And you can read more, it'll make more sense when you read it than me trying to describe it, but that's just that's the setting that we're in right now. Her big goal in life is to have them all marry into other wealthy families so that their legacy can continue forever, and that they'll be rich forever, and that she'll be like super well known around the world as one of the like best, wealthiest women that came from Hong Kong and just took over the world and stuff. This creates a rift with her children constantly feeling like they have to live up to her expectations, marry the people that she wants them to marry. And of course, Rufus, who's like our main character of her children. The other 2 girls, Augie and Bea, or Bea, because her full name's Beatrice. They, of course, are really important in the story too, but we focus a little bit more on Rufus because of his love interest, Eden, who lives in the cottage next door to them in their like big estate place that they live. Rufus has been living in Hawaii for a while because he needed space from his mother and all of this drama. And it happens that that's where she's building her next resort. Arabella is building a resort there, and that's also where she's made her daughter Augie's wedding to be at. Like, that's the place it's gonna be. Even though her daughter did not want to get married there, she wanted to get married in a different country, but her mom was just like, this is how we're doing it, and she made it kind of look like the other country in design, but really it's at her resort. So the first wedding we have is Augie's wedding in Hawaii, and the picture here is so pretty of this edition, this hardcover. Just seeing the volcano in the background because it happens to erupt right during this wedding week and kind of ruins a lot of things, and it kind of leads us into our main story of the Greshams actually not being as wealthy as everyone thinks they are. Francis has pulled out a lot of loans from a lot of people mostly one person who we'll meet later in the story, but trying to survive on all this loans and things, and hoping that the resorts will create income, and it's not creating enough, so they're really, really struggling, even though they're putting on a face that makes them seem like they're super, super wealthy. And that's another reason why Arabella is trying to make all of her children marry wealthy people, so that she doesn't have to worry about money on her side anymore, and then they can kind of like recover. Another thing that she's really trying to do is set Rufus up with this other really like good, well-known, wealthy family. And she's trying, during the wedding of Augie's wedding, she's trying to hatch this plan that her daughter and that Eden, who was not originally invited to this wedding, Eden is a doctor, and as well as her dad, and they live in the cottage next to the Greshams. And because of the friendship that Frances had with Eden's dad, Thomas. But she ends up going to the wedding. She has her and Bea help try to get Rufus to fall in love with this like other princess girl, so that they can get married, and then she'll be like, okay, now I only have one more daughter left to marry someone wealthy. And Rufus very much does not like fall for this girl at all. Her plan's not working, because really, in reality, he's in love with Eden, the girl next door, who is not wealthy in the slightest in comparison to all these other people. This is just your classic like mom trying to force her children into certain marriages for money kind of situation. This might sound very familiar to you, because as I was reading it, I realized it is very similar to Crazy Rich Asians. Like, obviously we knew it was going to be that way a little bit because of the money, but the more you read, the more you notice these similarities, like the biggest one being we have the disapproving mother of the choice of a woman that her son wants to marry. And that's like the same formula as Crazy Rich Asians. So but that doesn't really bother me, because I loved that book so much. And any book about weddings I really like. I really think that just reading about like weddings is it's such a fun read, because of all the shenanigans that can go down in a book that involves weddings with wealthy people and just making the days crazy and spending so much money. And so it doesn't bother me so much, but there were times where I was like, this seems like really similar. And that was one of the things. Eden as a character and her backstory, I was finding was kind of similar to Rachel's from Crazy Rich Asians. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was similar enough that I was like, hey, wait a second. And I didn't think of that until near the end of the book. As long as you're okay with the book being kind of similar to that, similar but different, then I think you'll really like this one. And yeah, I can't say much more without spoiling any like big things, but just know there's several weddings in this book, not just one. There's also like engagement parties and lots of traveling all over the place to go to different places and fancy restaurants and lots of high-end things. There's lots of characters that are just like so unaware of what normal life is, because the way they live with all their money, they're so out of touch with like reality. And then we have Eden, who is our like strong, grounded character, who's very patient with people like this. And just because she's also a doctor, she's got that part of her that just wants to help people. And so that makes her a very likable character. But yeah, it's jam-packed with stuff like very fun, interesting things like to read about. And so if you're looking for something that's really fun and like you want to keep reading to see what happens next, what's the next bombshell that's gonna like drop or whatever, like yeah, I think it was really fun to read. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.